So well, you'll close it out. Like you'll.
Yeah. Let's do this.
Oh, I got it. Yes.
Do it.
Yes.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Simulation. I'm your host, Alan Sakian. We are featuring Gregory Hammons.
What's up?
Woo! Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Hell yeah. Greg and I, when did we meet?
We met.
Oh, that's right, at
CJ
Anderson's event. You were emceeing that event. That was awesome. That was feels like a year ago, right?
It was a while ago, yeah,
Almost a year
year-ish.
now.
Yep.
And that was a really inspirational event. And then, because he's working on Dreams Never Die Foundation.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome work. And then you emceed the World's Fair that we hosted.
Yes.
And wearing a Mickey Mouse shirt
Yeah.
coming in. I loved it. Emceeing between getting the audience engaged, getting them inspired in between the speakers. It was super important when we were hosting that together. And then now we got you on Simulation on the show. You've been working on Forever Phase.
Absolutely.
For 4 years now, a little over 4 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Forever Phase is my baby, you know, it's my pride and joy. It's really a part of me. And I started 4 years ago just knowing that I wanted to do something to impact the world. I wanted to have a voice and I wanted to be entertaining in a way that was useful and beneficial to a huge amount of people. And so when I was at Ohio State, I figured, you know, upon graduation, I might not go work in entertainment immediately because that was like my primary dream. But I was just like, you know, what can I do to still keep this entertainment piece a part of me? And then I said, like, I'll just create a company. So I created Forever Phase LLC, which allowed me to continue being an entertainer because I love acting, I love motivational speaking, I love poetry and spoken word. And so Forever Phase allows me to do that, but it allows me to do that with a purpose because when I'm speaking, I'm inspiring youth. And I think the youth are the future. Actually, I know the youth are the future. And so that's what it allows me to do.
Yeah, that vibe is so good. Like, it's the vibe is so strong, and I love that about you. You know, you really carry that vibe through your heart when you even speak it. You know, it sounds so real. You know, that's so important.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so now, like 4 years ago, what was this like when it was first coming up? And now it's workshops, and now it's speaking and motivational speaking engagements. So
Totally.
So tell us about this.
Absolutely. So in the beginning, right, I just knew that I wanted to be a motivational speaker. And so funny story, when I was maybe like 15, I was at this huge conference and I had saw this motivational speaker, Patricia McLeod, and she was speaking about the brain, right? And she was going through all the intricacies and, you know, nuances of the brain. And she kept, you know, she would dive so deep, but then she would pull back and go broad and like say, like, this is why you're powerful. This is why you can do anything you want to do because the brain has all of these nuances that make it so, you know, complex. So you're already inherently able to do crazy things that you probably wouldn't imagine you can do. And so hearing her just really put me in a state of mind to know that one day I want to do that. Like I felt that in my heart. And so fast forward to like once I'm in college at Ohio State and I'm about to graduate and I'm like going into the real world, I'm like, hey, my life is about to change, you know, because whatever career I choose, this is what I wake up and do every day. So I'm like, I can't let that passion, that dream go. And I immediately just started networking and trying to figure out how can I become a motivational speaker. So first things.
That was so interesting, that moment of Patricia McLeod. You know, there's always these moments for people in their youth that trigger them to see the world through an inspirational light that they decide to go and like pursue some field. Like, yeah, that's good.
Totally.
That's a good
and it was, and actually like in that moment, I got chills, right? Like listening to her. I remember my hands were kind of shaking. And I remember like after she was in the back, like selling books, and I bought her book. And I shook her hand and I said, you know, I think I asked her like, what would you tell an aspiring motivational speaker, you know, because that's what I am. And she was just like, you know, just work hard, never give up. And you know, I think those are like words that, you know, you always hear, but to know how much it meant to me in that moment really made the difference. Yeah, so I think just fast forward to being at Ohio State and knowing that I wanted to really get serious about it, it really took me finding people who could give me a platform, right? And I think first things first, I started at my college. So I went to business school at Ohio State. I networked with the business school and said, hey, I want to be a motivational speaker. Can I talk to the younger students coming through, the program? And they were like, yeah, we can give you a stage, we can give you a platform.
Oh yeah.
So I just pulled on things I knew, right? And it was just it was early stage, so it wasn't like I had a ton to say. It was like, hey, I was just in college classes, I was a part of orgs, this is how I made it through, this is what kept me inspired. But, I think back then it may not have seemed like a lot to me, but in those moments to those younger students, you don't ever know how people perceive what you're saying and how valuable it can be. So me telling them, hey, study hard to get the A might have been just what they needed, not to go to a party or not to get involved with the wrong crowd. So I think, then it was really grassroots and very young, and now it has definitely developed into a lot more.
I love how in the collegiate days it was that you had some good wisdoms to share, but it was young wisdoms. The youthful ones. Yeah, because that's how we all start.
Yeah.
We all start with the rookie status of we're going and we're testing things and we're learning and we're falling on our face a bit and we're picking back up and some people are resonating with the things we're saying, and then all of a sudden it builds up. Every single year you get better and better at this art form, and all of a sudden people see you up on stage, and then they're like, damn, how'd he get there? And then that one graphic with all the guy that's walking up the stairs, and then the stage is on the other side of the stairs with all the people, and he's juggling plates in front of the whole audience, but then what you don't see on the stairs is all the broken plates that led him to be able
to that point.
Yeah, to juggle. Yeah.
And they never see that piece. And I think it's so important to talk about that process. And that's what I love to bring to my speeches, right? Whenever I'm talking to students, giving a workshop or a keynote, it's you need to understand that life is real and it's filled with so many events that you won't expect, so many events that will push you back. But what defines you is what you say defines you. And it's hopefully the power and the motivation to keep moving forward, because we'll all go through those things, right?
Yeah. Damn, and that power and motivation to keep moving forward is so important.
Yes.
And that's not even just in the heroine's or the hero's journey, but that's also a huge part of even the way that society is currently fostering a lot of depression and anxiety. And we see a little bit, we saw that little spike in suicide a couple days ago. And that again, these things are really crucial to communicate to the world and be there to just hold space for people, to hear their feelings and to just be with them, not necessarily coach them, but you can also coach them as well.
Yep.
But holy cow, is it important to persevere through those difficulties and move forward.
For sure.
And it all pays off.
It pays off, because you get to new levels that you never thought you would see, and you get to experience things that you probably couldn't even imagine. So that is worth it. I think every day it's worth it. Yeah.
So, okay, now let's touch on the things that you found to be these more wiser things to communicate, right? There was this one that we just talked about, the perseverance and the grit, getting through the lows and continuing onward. Is that kind of one of the central pillars, and what are the other central pillars of the things that you like to communicate?
Totally. Always, I feel like the perseverance and the grit piece is embedded in everything that I talk about. So it is kind of the baseline. It's the brick and mortar. Yeah. And then through that, I kind of go into different verticals with the students. And so one of those verticals is brand management. And so a lot of us think of a brand as being, a huge company, and
Nike or
like Nike, right? Like Google, like McDonald's, right? Like these big companies. And I think that it's important to understand your personal brand and the impact that that has on your success.
Exactly.
So I talk to students a lot about that, and I talk to them about the power that they have over that brand, right? It's not only your image in the sense of how people see you, but it's also like, what are you doing to build up the credentials and the resume, right? To kind of have something, a piece of paper, speak for you when you're not in the room. That's your brand as well. And you don't only have, your brand in terms of what others are saying about you, but then it's also, as soon as I shake your hand for the first time, that immediate interaction develops a brand, right? That first, that person-to-person interaction is also super important. So
let's unpack this. This is getting good.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So the brand management and the brand development.
Right.
So okay, so there is the piece of what's going on when you're not around. So when someone looks up your name, does the Google search, is your website up there?
Yeah.
And what does your website say about you?
Exactly.
Right? Are you really capturing someone's attention in a very beautifully designed and quick and concise way?
Right.
And then also when you first meet someone, when you first meet them in person, are you able to make it so that they remember you forever? That they're that was an amazing interaction.
Forever and not for a phase, right? You can't make it a phase. It has to be forever. That's it. Yeah, no, that's so important. And it's just like, if you have that ability, and a lot of students who are coming up, right, and like going through high school, they might not know all this, but everyone has a short attention span these days. So like you said, you need to be able to grab people, pull them in. And I think nowadays, it's not about giving people what you want them to see, but it's more so about giving them the authentic, genuine you.
And that's why when we were touching on that, we were watching that video earlier of like that short little hero's journey video that I put up. I went vulnerable onto YouTube, and I talked about the hero and the struggle that comes in through. And that's really interesting. If somebody sees that is almost that's almost an invitation.
It is.
In versus what we do with the culture of this is my best moment, my best moment, my best moment.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I love the fact that you said it's an invitation, because it is. And I think so many people feel marginalized today, right? So many people feel like they're pushed out and not accepted for who they are. And to give people an invitation is that hand out and that hand up into the conversation that I think we need to foster.
We had at the security at the Michael Pollan event, we brought on two of our friends to come and do security. And so they're doing security, they're black, two black guys doing security, and we have, afterward, we're talking about diversity on stage. We're talking about diversity, and we're talking about diversity of women, diversity of people of color, neurodiversity, all this different type of stuff. And you know, after the event, I walk up to them and I'm like, remember when we were talking on stage about diversity? Remember when we were talking about the importance of like having time and having space and having community that fosters the use of these consciousness expanding substances? And they're like, yeah. And we talked about how we can facilitate the community around where they live, to have people that we know come and facilitate space and time for them to slowly get introduced to things that can augment and expand their consciousness. And they were like, hell yeah. They're like, have you heard of the Flatbush? What this there? The Flatbush guys, the rappers out from Flatbush in Brooklyn. They talk about mushrooms and the importance of mushrooms. And so just this edge of inclusivity. And knowing how to be inclusive, knowing how to best do that. Yes.
Because I think there's a right and a wrong way. And it's so important to just know that, like, when you want to include people, include them for them, right? Like, include them for their sake. Don't include them for your sake, right? And I think it's important to know that, like, if you're bringing everyone to the table, you know, and you want everyone's voice to be heard, do it in a way that gives them the full, you know, autonomy to run the show, to run what it is that is their voice, and to deliver what it is that they believe. Because when people start, you know, trying to manipulate situations and to make things more political, I think it kind of ostracizes the true intent. So but I think, you know, as long as we continue to, you know, push these images and push brands, right, like Forever Phase and like Simulation, that want to, you know, raise the voices of everyone and to give everyone's story the platform that it deserves, we'll keep making good strides.
Yeah. So, okay, so then these high schoolers are learning about brand management, and you're making it relatable for them, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, I need to have something that represents me on the internet for people to see, and then they get inspired to go to create. We talk about that all the time on the show. At the end of every show, we're like, don't just consume this content, but go and make stuff with it.
That's key, right? And I think, well, I know at the end of every one of my workshops, it's always action oriented, right? Like, what are 3 things that you're going to leave here today and do? And then also, who's going to hold you accountable? So I love to push the accountability piece.
Second part's so important.
You know?
You'll leave and be like, I'll do these things.
but right, and it happens, it's so easy because we're all so busy with everything that goes on in our lives. But if you met someone new at a workshop that you didn't know from a different high school, and then you're like, hey, I'm going to take your email down and remind you, you're supposed to go to sports practice, right? 3 times a day, right? And like do what you need to do to get on the team. Then they'll do it, you know, and they believe that they can actually change their brand. So it's super powerful.
I think what you just described also is there's the accountability piece, and then there's also the piece of this motivation from within that has to come. Like you gotta know that the time that you invest going to that second or third sports practice of the day is actually more important for you than staying at home. And by going and doing that, you're not only pushing yourself to your limits and you're learning about how hard you can go, but you're also about to do things like go and push yourself farther than other people can go, and then land that spot on the team. And then you're going to learn all of the important things that you learn from having a team and having a coach and having practice, having competition, and learning about those dynamics. So it's worth the hustle to bring it through you and go and bring it out. How do you get that part? Because the brand,
right?
Okay, go ahead.
No, I think that's a really good point, and it's not always easy because a lot of people, a lot of youth will come and say like, Greg, I'm just not naturally motivated, right? Like that's not my personality. And what I believe is most helpful in those situations is when like I tell my personal stories, right? Because I'm not always that guy who can, you know, just wake up and put on the smile and just be motivation, right? And I like to like let people know that because a lot of people get it confused. They look at my Instagram and they're like, Greg, you're always happy, you're always inspiring. But no, it takes time, and it takes me feeding off of other people's energy sometimes, right? It's just like I'll look at, you know, Eric Thomas and get inspired, you know, the hip hop preacher. I'll look at Oprah or I'll look at Joel Osteen, and I'm just like, I need other people to kind of inspire me sometimes. And so I let them know that they are not alone, right? If you don't feel like you have that internal drive, but you have to know that unless you do have that internal drive, you may not get as far. And you have to, I'm very honest with the students, you know, I let them know, hey, success is built off of work, determination, and just being prepared for the opportunities that are gonna come to you. And so if you don't have that internal drive to get going, you're gonna miss out. But don't be discouraged if you feel like you don't naturally have it because you can get it from other places.
Yeah, and like you said, that the stories that you say about yourself not always able to be the Energizer Bunny of happiness and motivation. And even when you do talk about the stories that are a little bit on your like lows, on the low troughs, when you get there, then they're like it's totally cool to be imperfect and to have these like lows and these more like flaws, and then but you also then explain how you can rise up. And go through that. Okay, so that with the brand management pillar, like the motivation pillar, what are the
other pieces? So other pieces, another topic that I really love to touch on is just being able to have balance. So work, social life, school, balance. Because a lot of the youth are going through a point in their life where it's just tons of peer pressure. And they don't know necessarily how to deal with the pressure, where their goals really are, because they have teachers telling them, hey, you're really smart, you should really be focused in the classroom, but then they may have their peers telling them, hey, you're really beautiful, you should be a model, or you should be a TV actor, and then they're on the sports team, right, they're like, yo, I need to really perform because my coach is going to be upset with me. And so I really help students understand what it means to be well-rounded and how to come to a place within themselves and understand that, like, hey, I'm a person and I have wants and needs and I have priorities that I need to, set in front of myself to understand what I focus on. And when they understand that, like, you don't have to be the best in every single thing, but you make trade-offs, then they understand balance better. So I love talking about that.
That's a good pillar as well. That's such an important one. I think a lot of entrepreneurs experience burnout.
Totally.
A lot of people, even people that work just general like 9 to 6, also experience tons of burnout. And sometimes doing work that they don't love, which is, and then there's a difference between vitality and adrenaline, because when you're running on adrenaline all the time, you get a higher chance of burnout. Vitality, it's almost like an energetic flow that's coming through you every day with what you're doing. Now, this is interesting. So as in high school, as these kids are being morphed, I mean, we just talked to Jared.
Yeah.
And Jared is Michael's son, and Michael's a patron of the studio. And Jared is very interesting, 17 years old, and he is at Design Tech, this school that's all about project-based learning and design thinking. And so when we talk to him about like what he cares about and what he's doing, what he's learning, he's talking about it from the perspective of kind of what you described, of like there's all of these stimuli that are coming in, and then he's able to kind of parse and pick and do these trade-offs to figure out what exactly he wants to go and pursue. And that understanding that even exists in high school, that's even a part of the process.
Right.
We're not really taught that by our parents or counselors. A lot of it is that push that you were talking about as well, which is you're good at math, so here's all this engineering stuff.
What you get.
Which is good, give me that, that's important, but also be like, by the way, you can throw art in there, you can throw music in there, you can go throw nature in there, and it's like, what happens then? What happens to the mix then?
And that's what I want the youth to understand, that it's okay, and don't worry when you start to see different things that matter in your life, because that's what life is. It's a balancing act. And I think as an entrepreneur, we both know the struggles that come with that, right? And just that come with trying to find yourself and through the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, because it's so volatile. And so, it's a lot. It's a lot that goes into it. And youth, to kind of bring it to their lifestyles, I think is really fun, because it's just it allows me also to look at my life back then in a different way, because I'm putting so much attention and so much work into analyzing the lifestyle of being a youth, right? Of being in high school and being in college, and trying to say, hey, your lifestyle is just as in need of support and happiness and balance as any adults.
And this is crucial because it's coming into the minds of 13 to 18-year-olds.
Yep.
Right? That age is so important to be hearing about these things. Because and that's why we've had a 17-year-old on the show. We talk to these 17-year-olds. We talk about the way that they engage with each other. Even one of the questions that we asked MC High, the young rapper from North Bay that I showed you earlier, that one of the questions that we asked him was about, how often do you talk to your friends about these more meaningful conversations?
Yeah.
And it's the same shit that we used to have when we were in school.
Right.
Majority of people are not talking about the meaning.
At all.
How do we change that?
And I think the way to change it is to let youth know that they are people, and to make sure that they don't identify themselves with huge societal images that allow them to be defined by those images. We need to let them know you're human. And when you realize you're human, and there's so many different complexities just in and of you, you're like, hey, I need to explore who I am. I need to talk about that. I need to resonate with other people, because you can learn from other people. And when people see me up on stage, they're like, hey, he isn't that old, right? He not too long ago maybe graduated from college. And I want them to see that I'm thinking like this. You can think like this too. And it's in no way taken away from your youthfulness, right? Or the ability to be young and to like be carefree, because you can do that too, but it's also so important to focus in on your health and your success and what matters. And I don't ever push success or any specific definition of success on the students. I tell them, tell me what you want to be, right? Because that gets them going, it gets them thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, Ronnie used to want to be a janitor, remember?
I still do. I could have been a janitor.
You can do it.
Instead, I got to do this crap. This silly video production stuff.
Isn't that interesting, Ron? It was a woman, one of your teachers. It was third grade, right?
Yes, Ruth Southwick said, "No, Ron, you don't want to be a janitor. You got some talent. You got some skills. You should, be an actor." But that didn't. Like I said, I could have been a janitor. I should have just stuck with that rather than listen to her.
These sort of influences.
Yeah.
So the research is very clear that the influence that a young person has between like 13 and 18, either a family member or a peer or a counselor or relative, or somebody that they just look up to in general, that if one of those things is in the puzzle that helps motivate them to see that they can achieve that goal that they've set for themselves, they're much more likely to go and do it.
Absolutely.
Go and start the business or go to a college that's outside their hometown, things like that. So work like what you're doing is crucial. Okay, so we got, the workshops. Workshops happen both at high schools, but they also happen at corporations. So
absolutely.
What's the difference between when you go into the high school for the youth, which is crucial, and what is the difference when you go into the corporate setting?
For sure. So when I'm at a high school, I was just at Los Lunas High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So just being there is much more an educational vibe, and so I was there with the Technology Student Association, and so being in a place like that that's very much educational. You have staff who are teachers and maybe organization advisors, and it's the same content, but just a different type of feel. And so when I was there, I gave a workshop on brand management, and I also gave a keynote, and it was just kind of good to be where they are normally, because it kind of it's like me coming into their space, and I'm able to kind of reflect back on my time as a kid, and just being in high school and what it meant, and just it makes me feel even more connected to the space in the time in my life when I was there. But then at Google, right, where I've done a lot of work with youth coming to campus, it's much more professional, and there's definitely an agenda in terms of just we want the students to know that they can be the next software engineers or the next software developers. And so it's much more hey, we want to give them information that allows them to see themselves in this light. But whenever I am at Google doing a presentation like that, I always do infuse my personal forever phase type of slant or pitch, which is more so about what do you want, what do you need, and finding that happiness. Totally. If it is through engineering, then it is, or if it is through finance, then it can be that way too, but I always try to infuse that.
Yes, to give a little bit of art, music, nature in there as well, all these other different aspects of life that they can pursue. That's okay, cool. Now, what would you say is the important thing to be communicating to the youth with the proliferation of exponential technology?
Yeah, I would say with the proliferation of exponential technology, it's really critical to let youth know that their minds, I believe, are the most powerful tools. Right? So even though we have all this technology and so many apps being developed and so many, new features, I think that it's important to know that your mind has the ability to connect the pieces of the puzzle and to make this world what no one ever thought it could be. And so if you continue to feel that way, you can be fueled to learn more about these technologies, to work with these technologies, and to become a key player in the future, because you know that you actually have the ability to make an impact. I think a lot of times people think, oh, we're such a smart society, we're already here, everything has been developed, there's no room to grow, and that's totally not true. Because if you get your hands on this information and this education, you can develop whatever it is you want to. And I think that's super important to stress to the students. And I think something else, another topic, another vertical that I focus on is achieving internship success. And
Internship success.
internship success. And so this is more so geared towards, well, when I was in high school, I did an internship, but more so it's geared towards those students in college, right, who are going off to internships and looking for those full-time roles.
That kid Jared that's in the design tech school, they go 4 times a year and do immersive internships in high school.
Yes, yeah. So it's there, right? And it's needed because you need to be able to see the technology and touch the technology and see where the future is going.
The mentorship too.
The mentorship, right? And it's like also important. So I'm also always like pushing students to know that like the future is theirs. It really is.
And then what about specifically with like artificial intelligence and robotics?
Yes.
What would you say is these crucial like robot-proofed skills that is important to communicate to youth to develop so that they're not focused on doing repetitive work, but that they're focused on doing maybe more creative work?
Yeah, I would say that you need to, I guess just to get more clarity around the question, are you saying just like, okay, within robotics, what things they should focus on in terms of like the spectrum of like learning?
Maybe more so that because AI and robotics are about to be taking away a lot of like taxi driver jobs and truck driving jobs and even some blue collar, white collar stuff now, like that this is all really about to happen in the next couple of decades. Kids that are being born today that are going to be 18 in 2036.
Got you.
That's going to be crazy different.
Yes.
They're going to have to be learning completely different things. So like what kind of advice would you give? Yeah.
Absolutely. I would say you definitely need to look at the current job landscape for what it is and understand it completely. Because if you think about, like you said, all the robotics and the technology that's happening today and how, industries are being completely wiped out and some industries are being completely created, right, based off this technology, you need to be able to position yourself, and this is something I love to talk about, position yourself as a key asset, right? And as being very, truly valuable. And the way you do that is in a lot of different ways. One way is to understand all the technology, to get the education, to be equipped with the ability to answer any question that comes your way. But then another way is to truly dive into the relationships. Like you said, mentorship is pivotal. So if you have key mentors in different industries, right? You have tons of connections. Remember when we connected at the World's Fair and you were just like, you had all these connections with all these people in different industries. That's so important because those people can not only pour opportunities into you, they can pour even more knowledge into you. And so it's important to like have the hard skills, right? Be able to, manipulate spreadsheets, be able to calculate and crunch the numbers and to do, the STEM type of skills, but then also develop those relationships, make yourself a person who has a brand that everyone can resonate with and that people just genuinely enjoy working with. Yeah.
I love the words key asset. Make yourself a key asset.
Yeah.
Damn, that's really insightful.
Totally, man. And it's true. Because if you think about at these big companies, you are a tool and you have to do, what it is that you're meant to do. And I think, me being at a big company, I also love to focus in on, what it is that I love about me and what's truly me that can beef up me doing the job that I have to do. And I think that's the way you truly win, right? Because I don't like the fact that, some people feel like, oh, if I go to work, I'm only there to work. No, go there to do the job, but think about the job in a different way. Think about how you can bring the true you to the job and be happy and passionate while you're doing it so you can truly live,
It's almost like thinking about the job like you are a key part of the greater, bigger picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not just like being used. You're like a partner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It actually makes the world go round a lot more efficiently and less stressfully when people feel like they're human, like you said, and they're human working together.
Yes.
And the less that we see megalomaniacs, the less we see people trying to abuse like kleptocracy, the less we see like kleptocratic power being abused just for own personal gain and things like that. And the more we see people striving to actually find that bit of humanity within each other,
Yes.
that's communicated over media, I think the more we'll think of each other as, partners in working together and building a better world, and less so in wanting to climb in the race and get on top of each other and all that stuff. So
Exactly.
yeah, a key asset. That's really important. Actually, I like that way of understanding the focus for children and the young adults in their pursuit of careers is to think of themselves as a key asset. Where can you be a key asset in which, like you said, which industries are coming to a close,
Yep.
which industries are coming to a rise? How
Totally.
can you be a key asset in the industries coming to a rise?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and every day I personally think about this. Like I'm at Google, I work there, but then I'm also this motivational speaker and I love doing this. And so I told my manager, like I love speaking. This is what I feel like is a part of my DNA, to be inspirational and to help people. And it's just like he understood that and he supports that. And it's just like, now how can I put this into my current role? And that's why I'm doing like more events on campus. Like bring students, let's talk to them.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, if you already have connections in some way to the thing that you want to do, dig into it and fully, experience it and figure out how it can benefit you, right? So, yeah, it's just like.
Thanks for pulling this one up, Ron. This is really relatable to what we're talking about right now. So then this is when people are coming out to campus, and you're able to talk to them both about the importance of the future technologies, all these really important jobs in software engineering, design, and operations, and all these new things that are coming up, but also you're able to plug in some of that forever phase energy, some of that motivation as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like this event was actually at Stanford University. So they have the Black College Fair every year. And so I went on behalf of Google just to represent, the company, but also to just talk about my college experience. And so when I get here in these spaces, representing Google, but also infusing my language and my purpose with Forever Phase, I think it really touches the students in a different way, because it's just like they see Google and they think one thing, but then they hear Forever Phase, right? Completely different. And they're just like, wow, like what does this Forever Phase thing mean? Like how did you create the company and what does it mean? And so
and it can be together too.
It can be together, right? And that's why I love so much like being at work and being able to do what I love, because it's truly a part of me. And I feel like Google, fully understands it, And so whenever I'm talking about motivation, whenever I'm talking about, hey, achieving your dreams and not allowing your success to be a phase, but making it forever, like we hear that all the time in different ways. We're all saying, the same message, but it's in a different manner. And so it just gets me excited to be able to do that.
Let's pull up a couple of the other photos, because I want to look through some of the other ones.
For sure.
Yeah.
I feel like, this year especially, this was at Google. This was the Tech Day, which was super neat. We had youth coming from all around California.
You're looking hella buff here.
I've been in the gym, man. I've been in the gym. Thanks, Alan, for saying that, because I've really been working on it, But this was a day where we brought like over 500 students to Google's campus, and we were just like working with them on understanding technology, understanding how to code, understanding what different careers exist. And I was the kickoff person, so I kicked off the whole program, got the students excited, closed it, sat on the panel. It was great, man. And so, things like this just really get me excited,
Hell yeah. That sounds so great, this 500-person event with all these young kids. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what really touches me, though, is like when I'm at a high school, and sometimes at a corporate event, but when I'm at high school specifically, a lot of times students will come up to me after, and they'll say like, hey, Greg, like, I have this personal situation going on in my life where like, I don't know if I have balance. I don't really know how to get it. And it's kind of like they confide in me for a quick second, and they just like want somebody to talk to, because maybe they don't know who to talk to about this thing, because we just said like we aren't having those conversations in high school.
Yeah.
And so it just like makes me realize, okay, Greg, this is your opportunity to really help make a positive impact on this person's life. So I always like hope I say the right thing, and I'm just like confident and just like pushing a message that I believe will help them make better decisions, you know?
Yep. I wonder how much, and this is at Google I/O, right?
Yeah, this is IO. Yeah.
I wonder how developed the mind of like a 16-year-old is to be able to be very analytical of the design of social media.
Right.
Because when we become like 25 and so we get a more analytical mind, we're able to see like the ways that we're being manipulated with technology for our attention.
Totally.
Yeah, so they can make advertising dollars. So we were starting to understand this more. But like, do 16-year-olds, like, can they really analyze that and like get it? And then do they have the space to talk to people about it?
Absolutely, they understand. I feel like a lot of people, don't really know, or they may not understand how smart these young high schoolers are, but they know, right? Like they understand the power that, the different apps are having on their life and like how much time is being taken away from them because they devote it to these different, technologies and just like social, platforms. And they know that it exists, but I think they don't always have the power to find something else to counter it, right? Or to take their attention and put it towards something that they really want to be doing. Because it's so easy for them to get wrapped up in the images that they see on TV or in social media, and they feel like that's the most important thing. But when they get into a space like one of my workshops, or they hear me speak about my life and how I kind of fought through the peer pressures of being a teenager, they realize, hey, there are other things that matter just as much as having a picture with 80,000 likes, right, that I could be focused on. And then we start that conversation. So they're definitely able. I think it's more so about providing the places and the spaces where we say, hey, it's okay to talk about this. It's okay to find out your passions and not to just be bogged down in social media.
I really want to make that message clear for the youth. That's so important because it's only getting. You've heard of Sesame credit in China?
I've heard of that.
It's like social credit ranking. So the more that you do, socially good things, the higher your credit is, the more you're able to go and to rent a car, to go do whatever you need to do. And the lower these social credit ranking is, the less you're able to do those things. I know Ron might have something to say about this right now.
Yeah?
Well, I believe the children are our future, and we should teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let their laughter remind us how we used to be.
That's royal.
That's beautiful.
It is.
That's lyrics to Whitney Houston's song.
Greatest
love of all. Come on. People, let's pay attention.
Yes. The greatest.
Okay, so there's all this beauty on the planet, and we want to show kids that all the beauty, but also show them that they can achieve their fullest potential.
Right.
And when we show that to them and foster a world where it's easier for them to do that, then that's good. But then, Ron, there's also the side of the world that's not so pretty, right? So then what do we do about that?
Well, just let them know that they can be part of that as well, the ugly part of the world, if they want to be, criminals or drug dealers or, whatever. That's an option as well.
And that's raw too. Yeah, just be like, this is straight up like some of the darker part of the world. And
sure, the big thing is, serial killers. You can inspire them to be part of that.
And you have to know that, like, in the real world, right, like, there is light and there is, things that are, there are things that are good and there's things that can harm you and, like, can put you in a bad situation. And I let the students know, right, like, it's not always easy. And this, I think, comes more so through my stories when I just, like, tell them, like, hey, these are some of the things I went through that were challenging or things that really helped shape me into the person I am. You have real interactions. And if you make bad decisions you can end up in a bad place. And it's just the way it is. And so I think it's not okay to sugarcoat things for students just because you think that you don't want them to be exposed to it, right, too soon, because in reality, they probably have already found out, or they know that these negative things exist, and they might be curious, right, as we all are, curious human beings. And it's good to say, like, hey, fight for what you believe in, fight for what's right, fight for what you know can put you in the place of your dreams in the future. Because if you choose to get involved in, bad peer pressure, if you get involved with drugs and, you want to do negative things, your life can take a totally different route.
That's right.
That's right.
We got to let them know they're nobody until they start smoking cigarettes and get tattoos.
I really like that. Like, if you teach the children like both of these perspectives, then the kids are, you're not shunning them out from either one. You're just giving them the opportunity to choose either one. Okay, let's do a couple of our simulation questions.
All right.
On the way out, and I'll go ahead and Ronnie, do you want to give us our?
This is the noise. Okay. Well, we're a little ahead of schedule. Stand by.
We got a timer. Oh, shoot. Pressure's on.
Pressure's on. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, I really love that hourglass. It's so nice.
It's neat.
Yeah. Here we go.
You dirty rat bastard. Stand by. Sorry.
We have a fun noise for the 15-minute period.
Okay.
Okay, here it is.
Yeah.
Okay. There it is. All right.
Okay. It's like things got interesting.
Yeah. So now we enter in. Okay. So let's start with this. So there's a lot of inequality going on in the world. Inequality of opportunity.
Totally.
Not equality of outcome, not that at all. Equality of opportunity. So there's a lot of inequality going on, and let's take the United States for example, but it's different in all different places in the world. So we got a lot of people that have a little, and a very, very few people that have a lot. And now exponential technology is making that even greater. The gap, the bottom's still coming up, but the gap's becoming even greater. What are your thoughts about inequality? How do we handle that?
I feel like my thoughts around inequality are really grounded in the humanistic principle of doing good and of just having love in your heart. Because I think everything that I do and everything that I'm saying and that I'm just like empowering students to do is all coming from like good and love. And so I think that if we as a people think about what is embedded in good and embedded in love, you can do things that help push the needle towards the right direction in terms of giving everyone opportunities and in terms of like trying to, break these inequalities down in a way that is fair, right? And I think that because there's so much inequality, things are just completely imbalanced in some parts of the world, and the people who have the resources to help, I feel like should. And we should always be looking at ways to give back and to understand the problem and to understand how, as we develop these new technologies, right, as we push the world forward, it doesn't always have to mean that someone else gets pushed out, right? If we're truly as smart as we really are, we should be able to figure things out because we figure out everything that's super complex, right? And so I think this is just another problem. Like, let's solve it. And I think we shouldn't be afraid and we shouldn't be lazy to pull up our sleeves and say, like, let's get to the root of the cause and let's try to fix it.
I like how you said that just because I am moving up doesn't mean I need to push someone else out and down. That if we're truly these now hyper intelligent animals on this planet, then let's figure out how to uplift everybody. I really like one of the answers that we've had to the wealth inequality was right now wealth inequality is like super rich and super poor. The idea was to do like this. To like just close the gap, right? Super rich, super poor, just close the gap but move everyone up at the same time. So just make the bare level like really, really high, but keep the wealth inequality
Really high.
wealth continuing to increase as well.
Right.
Yes. So something like
And
that.
so I don't necessarily know, I don't agree with that completely, because I think that we shouldn't look at it as in like, let's just like make the rich richer and like make the poor a little richer, but then like still have the gap. I think it's about like, let's see what it would take to give those poor people or the people who don't have all the opportunities, to give them the education and the opportunities that they need, so that one day, if they really worked hard, or if they really, you know, got all the resources they have, they can get there too, right? Understanding that the probability might not be as high, but I think it's more so like, let's give people the resources when they, you know, enter college. Let's give them the tools and education to say like, hey, you can achieve anything it is that you want to.
I do think we were saying the same thing there, because from that lowest level of inequality up until here, where we were moving them to, that process was those tools and the resources that were needed to bring the bare level up, so that everybody at least has access to clean water and clean food and shelter and clean air, and then education and healthcare and things like that on the whole planet. And then from there, the gap itself is just smaller, so that way it's easier for people to become actualized with that opportunity that they have.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay. I thought you were just saying like, let's just like put them in like a better situation, but like I guess the way we do that is through the
what you
tools. And
described.
Totally, that makes sense.
Okay, now let's ask you about, what is the most beautiful thing in the world?
Whew, let me think. The most beautiful thing in the world. I would have to say just like peace, you know? Just like being at peace. True tranquility, and just like understanding that like everything's gonna be okay is truly beautiful to me, because I think that when you're at peace in a world full of inequality and full of, you know, just like things that are harmful to you, having a sense of peace that's within, I think is beautiful, because it's like no one can take that from you. So I think that's really beautiful.
Love that answer.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
It's like radiating with such a sense of equanimity that no matter what happens on the outside world, that you are retaining this peace.
That's so important, and I talk about that a lot, because I talk about students being able to like have ownership of their emotional, you know, reactions, and I talk about emotional intelligence, and just being able to own that is so key, because this world is fueled with stimuli that are going to make you, and some stimuli is good. It might make you happy and it might make you sad, but I think it's good to not allow anything to impact you too powerfully, right? Like I wouldn't want anything to make me too happy, because there's the ability for that thing to go away and then it might drive me down. So like just try to control that internal peace, you know?
Yeah, that's a great answer. I love that one. I'm always so grateful for everyone's answers to this question, because they always teach me. I love it. Just basking in the question, what is the most beautiful thing in the world?
Yeah, because it's so much, right? It's like it
Yeah.
could be anything.
What do people choose?
What have they chose?
We've had a lot of people say like, you know, love because you can't like see it, you can only like feel it. We've had a lot of people say consciousness. The fact that we were given the ability to perceive the cosmos and interpret it, that's been a really good answer.
Yeah.
Cheesecake. Most beautiful thing in the world.
Ron, cheesecake is very beautiful.
Cheesecake.
You can't deny it.
I'm like, Ron, I love you, and Ron's like, I love Chinese food.
That's
You know,
right.
like some things you can't deny.
Yeah, love's a strong word.
It is.
It is, yeah, it is. But you were actually mentioned that the more that we feel like the humanity, the real raw humanity, that is actually how you can prevent people from being pushed out and bring people in. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I want. That's truly what I want. Like as I live my life, I want people to see me and think, Greg is a real guy. Greg is a genuine guy. And Greg spreads this energy with every single person he meets because that's who I am. And that's what I want to give out into the world. And I feel like the more I put that out there, people will see it and they'll start having real connections within themselves. And it's just like the more we connect, that's powerful, man. Because we're all human. We're all going through the same life, or not same life, but the same human experience, but in very different ways. But if we can connect with the fact that we're all human, there's so much that's similar in that.
Yes.
So.
That humanity connecting us. Yes.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's another really good part of the wealth inequality equation of how to converse with people about it is, you know, you're human, I'm human, we're human, you know. You wipe your butt after you poo.
Just like me,
Just
right?
like me, you know, doesn't matter how much money you have.
It doesn't.
Jeff Bezos does that. He does that. Yeah.
He does it,
Yeah.
you know? And I think like, and even when people, you know, I think it's also important to look at our skills from a humanistic lens, because it's just like, okay, you're good at this, I'm good at this. Let's respect the fact and appreciate the fact that we can have differences or different skills that we're both really good at.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's ask you. Our next question is: are we alone in the cosmos?
Are we alone in the cosmos? How would you define the cosmos? Just like here, are we alone as humans? Are there other beings of some sort? Yeah, that's the question. Are we alone? I say this. I say we are not alone because I believe in a higher being. I believe in God. Definitely believe in God. And
what does that look like to you?
What does God look like to me? I feel like God is so big that there is like nothing that can really define God. And like I feel like it's all powerful, right? Like when I just love, and I love the ambiguity, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not one to say that I need to know what that thing is in the universe, because I feel like we're not alone, because we know that so much more exists. And I love the fact that that's true. And so I just really believe that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the so much more existing, what do you think does exist on those rocks orbiting stars and the other parts of this galaxy and other galaxies?
Yeah, I feel like other creatures could definitely potentially exist. You know, like we need to go there and find out and like do the research and like get more insights and more clues. But I don't know. I would think they were probably I wouldn't say that we have like full blown like people that are functioning that we just don't think are humans. I would say there are things like organisms, like there's some form of maybe life that exists.
Or maybe life that's advanced past us as well.
That's a possibility. And who's to say that what we define as being the most advanced, you know, human is actually what they would define as that, you know?
Yeah.
Like what if it's something that we would say is like less advanced, but they think it's more advanced, and like whose definition is right? And why is our definition always considered right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We're so ignorant. So ignorant.
Not all of us. There's ignorance among us, but
even if you're slightly intelligent, you're still vastly way more ignorant, right? Then the smarter you are, usually the more you understand your ignorance.
Right, because it's like so much more.
There's so much more, yeah. Okay, how about we go to our last question, which is, are we in a computer simulation?
Are we in a computer simulation? Is this some huge game, huh? Is that the question? I'd say we are in our own individual computer simulation. And I like to think is my life like that, because I don't like to think that
Look at all the other Gregs in there.
Right. This is my simulation.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, I'm not, I feel like the world doesn't revolve around me, and I don't like to think that, but I think my individual life is a sequence of events that are very much so like a game and
Totally.
like a simulation. And you need to be able to play it and play it well according to how you will respond, which the world doesn't know, but only you know. And so if you understand how you'll respond, you understand the events that are coming, you make the right decisions, hey, it could be a simulation.
I like how you describe it as a game. You think that every time that you have more perseverance and grit and you succeed, you persevere through that?
Yeah.
You level up, you gain
Yes,
experience.
so I have something to say. My mom would be super happy right now because my mom, and this is in one of my speeches that I always say, my mom told me when I was young, she was like, Greg, in life, you have cushions. And you build these cushions up every time you do something right, every time you do something good, every time you're walking on the right path and you determine what the right path is. She never told me what it was. But she says when you fall, when you make a bad decision, when you feel hurt, when you feel down, you land, on some cushions. You never hit the bottom. You never hit the bottom. So I absolutely look at life as a constant process of walking upstairs or winning in a gamification mode, right? Because that's how we should view it, I believe. That's a part of the motivation. You got this far because you never gave up, because you keep walking forward. Live in that forever phase, walk in that forever phase, make your dreams come true, right? It's a process. Yeah.
We gonna watch that movie?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's
Let's
do it.
do it.
All right,
Yeah.
great.
And that was a good way to transition into it.
Yeah, it was just like boom, yeah.
Yeah.
Forever phase. Yeah, forever phase, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it. Hello, I'm Greg Hammons, founder and CEO of Forever Phase LLC. I created the company in 2014 with two main goals in mind. I wanted to fuel my passion for entertainment, and I wanted to inspire youth to achieve a higher education and a higher purpose for their lives. A lot of people ask me, what is a forever phase? A forever phase is two main things, a state of mind and a way of life. It's a state of mind in the sense that when you're in your forever phase, you think critically about everything you're doing and you constantly want to get better. You believe in yourself, and no matter what goals you set, you know that they can come to fruition because you're constantly thinking about how to get there. And once you've clearly formulated that mindset, it leads into a way of life because you change the way you act, you change the things you do in your downtime, and even when you're working, you're more productive because everything has a purpose and you're in touch with that. When I'm in front of students, I cover topics ranging from professional development to brand management to public speaking, and this is to inspire them, to encourage them in an entertaining way, but most importantly, to give them the tools and resources they need to succeed. Going forward, one of my largest goals is for Forever Phase to have a global impact. This means youth around the world being inspired and equipped with the resources and the tools they need to achieve their goals. I know that in order to make this happen, I need to be on every platform and every channel that exists. So that means TV, film, radio, books, you name it. Forever Phase needs to be there and in the faces and in the hands of the youth in order to help them feel inspired, empowered, uplifted, and ultimately to get them to where they want to be. So if you'd like to join me on this mission of motivating, inspiring, and empowering students, check out my website at gregoryhammons.com and reach out to me, and let's embark upon this mission, one young person at a time.
Young person at a time.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
Links in the bio. Go and check it out. Go and reach out to Greg. Bring him in, bring him around into the groups that you have, into both the youth in high schools, to corporate settings as well. And let's really get this sort of notion of getting young people, especially young people, inspired to be at their fullest actualization.
That's it. That's what it's all about. And that's my dream. You know, if I can make that happen, and it doesn't mean I have to be impacting 1,000 people right now, because it starts with one person, right? It's each person at a time.
Every person at a time.
One mind is worth a million, so.
And there's lots of Greg Hammons in other people as well that are helping individually out. So to communicate even these messages to more people, to help have them help youth. Yeah, I love it. People like you are helping us build a bright future. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on the
you.
show, Greg. This has been such a
My
blast.
man Alan.
Yeah. So
Thank
fun,
you.
brother. So fun.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to continue collabing, getting some good stages set up.
We got work to do.
Inspiration. Yeah, let's get more of these tough questions as well
Yes.
into the minds of the youth.
Let's do it.
Go and maybe ask them when you're on stage once. Be like, I just want you guys to take a moment and think, what is the most beautiful thing in the world? You know, just drop a nice little simulation question in there every once in a while.
You know?
Let's see if we can get you into like the design tech school I was telling you about, go and do a talk there. There's so many good ways that we can collab. I love your energy, love your vision, love your vibe. Thank you again for coming on.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to the team, thanks to Ron, thanks to
Woo!
Alfredo. Yeah.
Alfredo. Thanks, Ron.
Woo! And thank you guys at home for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. If you guys had a good time, make sure to subscribe, like the video, share it with other people. Let's get more conversations rolling about this stuff. Also, go and create with this content. Don't just consume it, but go and write about it, make a video about it, start a business with it, go talk to youth about it. Go and create with this content. And join us on Patreon. We need to continue supporting the studio and also growing the enterprise and impacting more people. So join us there. Much love, everyone.